by picking a label that's so erroneous that actually makes that set of people cut from their roots and their heritage and their culture?
Right.
Would you think that that's the very reason as to why they chose
100%. Right. And that's why 100%.
And that's why, right? Like, we'll say that black people founded civilization. It's not true.
One thing I believe why black people are really
Go back to that.
I don't mean to cut you.
Like, black people are the founders of civilization, is what people say.
No, that don't.
Right? Founders of civilization aren't going to be 25 or 28
That's right.
murdered in the city.
Right.
Founders of civilizations will be doing things to advance civilization.
Right.
Like as a whole, because we're the founders, we're responsible for everybody. Everybody's our parent. Everybody's our child. Like, we have a divine responsibility to everybody on the planet. Everything that's living, breathing has to eat and has to see and smell and touch and whatever. We have an obligation to those things.
break up the line.
We can't even have an obligation to ourselves.
That's right. We're so disempowered by these kinds of things, huh?
Right. It's a intentional form of doing that to people. It's not something that this is not just something that they're just putting out. Like, yeah, we're gonna put this out because
and trying to be creative.
This is the problem in the community. Like,
it's mass propaganda.
Right. They're saying, please, like, let us know what's good. Right? Like, let us know. So everything ties right back into King Alfred plan. Right? Diversion, the primary strategy. Experience has proven that the simplest method of securing a silent weapon and gaining control of the public is to keep the public undisciplined and ignorant of basic systems principles. On the one hand, while keeping them confused, disorganized, and distracted with matters of real importance on the other hand. This is achieved by 1. Disengaging their minds, sabotaging their mental activities by providing a low-quality program of public education in mathematics, logic, systems, design, and economics, and by discouraging technical creativity. 2. Engaging their emotions, increasing their self-indulgence and their indulgence in emotional and physical activities by unrelenting emotional affrontations and attacks, mental and emotional rape, by way of constant barrage of sex, violence, and wars in the media, especially the TV and newspapers, giving them what they desire in excess, junk food for thought, and depriving them of what they really need. 3. Rewriting history and law and subjecting the public to a deviant creation, thus being able to shift their thinking from personal needs to highly fabricated outside priorities. These prelude their interest in and discovery of the silent weapons for social automation technology. The general rule is that there is profit in confusion, and more confusion, the more profit. Therefore, the best approach is to create problems and then offer the solutions. Diversion summary. Media. Keep the adult public attention diverted away from the real social issues and captivated by matters of no real importance. Schools. Keep the young public ignorant of real mathematics, real economics, real law, and real history. Entertainment. Keep the public entertainment below a 6th grade level. Work. Keep the people busy with no time to think back on the farm with the other animals. Consent. The primary victory. A silent weapon system operates upon data obtained from docile public by legal, but not always lawful force. Much information is made available to silent weapon systems programmers through the IRS or CRA. This information consists of the enforced delivery of well-organized data obtained in federal and state tax forms collected, assembled, and submitted by slave labor provided by taxpayers and employers. Furthermore, the number of such forms submitted to the IRS or CRA is a useful indicator of public consent, an important factor in strategic decision making. Other data sources are given in the short list of inputs. Consent coefficients, numerical feedback indicating victory status, psychological basis. When the government is able to collect tax and seize private property without just compensation, it is an indication that the public is ripe for surrender and is consenting to enslavement and legal encroachment. A good and easily quantified indicator of harvest time is the number of public citizens who pay income tax despite an obvious lack of reciprocal or honest service. Amplification, energy sources. The next step in the process of designing an economic amplifier is discovering the energy sources. The energy sources which support any primitive economic system are of course a supply of raw materials that can consent of the people to labor and consequently assume a certain rank, position, level, or class in the social structure, i.e. to provide labor at various levels in pecking order. Each class is guaranteed its own level of income, controls the class immediate below it, hence preserves the class structure. This provides stability and security, but also government from the top. As time goes on and communication and education improve, the lower class element of the social labor structure become knowledgeable and envious of the good things that the upper class members have. They also begin to attain knowledge of energy systems and the ability to enforce their rise through the last structure. This threatens the sovereignty of the elite. If this rise of the lower classes can be postponed long enough, the elite can achieve energy dominance, and labor by consent no longer will hold a position of the essential economic energy source. Until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of people to labor and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause the people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. It is essential to recognize that at this time, public consent is still an essential key to the release of energy in the process of economic amplification. Therefore, consent as an energy release mechanism will now be considered. The successful application of a strategy requires a careful study of inputs, outputs, the strategy connecting the inputs and the outputs and the available energy sources to fuel the strategy. This study is called logistics. A logistical problem is studied at the elementary level first, and then levels of greater complexity are studied as a synthesis of elementary factors. This means that given the system is analyzed, i.e. broken down into subsystems, and these in turn are analyzed until this process, one arrives at a logistical atom, the individual. This is where the process of synthesis properly begins, and at the time of birth of the individual. The artificial womb. From the time a person leaves its mother's womb, its every effort is directed toward building, maintaining, and withdrawing into artificial wombs various sorts of substitutive protective devices or shells. The objective of these artificial wombs is to provide a stable environment for both stable and unstable activity, to provide a shelter for the evolutionary process of growth and maturity, i.e. survival, to provide security for freedom, and to provide defensive protection for offensive activity. This is equally true of both the general public and the elite. However, there is a definite difference in the way each of these classes go about solutions to problems. And then the last part, the draft. Actually no, mind control in America. If a group of men gain control of the major news media, the educational systems, they would have great control of the words we use, would they not? When you control people's words, you control their thoughts. When you control their thoughts, you can control their minds. When you control their minds, you control their bodies. If such a group gain control of our minds, would we expect them to take full-page ads across the country to inform 2 million heavily armed citizens of their accomplishments? Would they more likely keep us singing "Land of the Free, Home of the Brave" while they simply purchase the legislation they need to gain absolute total control over us? Whoever controls the volume of money in a country is absolute master of all commerce and industry, President Garfield. The only way productive people can control the volume of money and be self-governing is when something workers produce is used as a medium of exchange. The actual process of money creation takes place in commercial banks, Page 3, Modern Money Mechanics, published by the Federal Reserve Bank in Chicago. You thought government printed it? For the secret owners of the Federal Reserve to control the volume of money and become our absolute masters and we their absolute slaves, they had to first get the gold away from our parents and grandparents in 1933, which was accomplished with the threats of fines and imprisonment from a man who said, "The thing we have to fear most is fear itself," Franklin D. Roosevelt. Next, they had to get our silver away from us, which accomplished under a great smokescreen called Vietnam. It is just so coincidental as to how the chronology of Vietnam War seems to dovetail with the chronology of our silver being confiscated. There is no way they could control the volume of money if the money was silver coins in the hands of 200 million Americans. They had to get us dependent on a medium of exchange, and they would create an infinite volume with infinitesimal effort, credit and new credit. The newspapers tell us that Russia borrows from Western banks, and the Bible says, the borrower is servant and he the lender. Proverbs 22:7. You think the Bible is wrong? The public thinks that taxes are used to provide a defense against Russia in its other way around. Our masters dangle the Russian boogeyman in front of us to justify the tax illusion. Truth is always stranger than fiction. The Russian people are taught to fear us. History shows that money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain control over governments by controlling the money and its issuance. The world is governed by far different personages than what is imagined by those not behind the scenes. Dig your own grave, open a bank account.
What the?
It's the truth, huh?
Yeah.
That's how you get hooked into the system.
Yeah.
This is a blueprint for spiritual and mental ethnic cleansing of people.
Right.
That's a
You said
blueprint
it.
for it right there.
Right.
Yo, bro, I was waiting to use the same word, ethnic cleansing.
Yeah. Right.
That's what
You
doing.
rip people of their identity and their beliefs in themselves, and then you replace it with something that's not even theirs and not even true.
Right.
That's awful.
That's what the movie Inception was about.
Yeah.
You're dreaming.
The dreams and the dreams
You're
and the dream.
dreaming, right? But they incept the template of how things are going on into your mind.
Right.
But you're convinced because you're dreaming, you think it's real.
Right.
It's your dream, but it's their idea. So then when you go against that idea, everything in that dream turns against you,
Right. Right.
right? And this is their means of incepting their idea into you. And then when you think things are going against you, you think you're doing something wrong.
Right.
But really, you're doing something right, and you're going against
That
that
conditioning.
That
conditioning.
Conditioning.
Exactly.
domestication.
That's right.
Right. So all that ties right back now into what was it that Noble Drawley was teaching the people since 1913, that all these groups, because all the groups that they mentioned in the Upper Plan
Right.
are supposedly groups for our liberation,
Right.
but they're part of the thing.
They've been infiltrated.
They're
to some
mental-
degree, some
exactly,
degree,
right. To be used in order to get the people to discard their nationality.
And that's even
indirectly.
worse too, because if the group that supports that organization thinks that the organization is doing something for them, they become infiltrated and co-opted. Then they're being, they have this trust for the organization, but it's being led by the wrong people,
Right.
And our people are
path.
passionate, brother. We like, and our people's passion is supporting these false
Misdirected.
ideologies.
Absolutely.
So our people go full head on in them
Right.
because our intentions are right.
Right,
That's
yeah.
right.
Our intentions are right.
Right.
Like everything that we're doing, all our intentions are right.
Right.
But you know what I mean? Or
What's
the
it-
vehicle in which we're traveling,
Where the car is going
What's it
right
really
to the
doing?
wall.
we ain't even driving.
That's
Yeah.
right. Not behind the driver's seat.
Right, you're not buying
That's
the
right.
driver's and it's supposed to be your vehicle.
That's right.
Right? And like what else came up in what you've just heard? What
that
else
was just,
came
that
up?
was evil. What you just heard was straight up just like utter Pinky and the Brain cartoon almost.
Straight up, like yeah. I went through emotions too. I was like, one point I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
At the point I'm like, see, this is exactly what we're talking about. At the point I noticed he did a lot of mention was about the media and how important propaganda is and how important
Shapes your perception.
shapes your perception.
Yeah.
So
What why do you think they're even? Because they're making it seem like it's something new that there's gun violence.
Well, that's a way of perpetuating the guilt almost, sorry.
Yeah, no.
To make it seem as if it's something that's endemic within the black culture, as if there's something wrong with the black people, as if like, you know, you need to be violent, you need to lash out. They don't get, as the gentleman was saying before, is that the root cause of it is poverty, is the socio-economic circumstance surrounding that set of people. And what the article should be saying is, you know, why they should have an answer. It's poverty. You know, it's the social cutbacks that we have in our city. If you compare the crime rate maybe 10 years ago when there was more social spending, you didn't have this much killing. But you take that out of the community, that can happen in the black community, that can happen in, you know, if you want to go along with the labels, that can happen in the white community, that can happen in the Asian community, that can happen in any community.
Right.
So it's just a way, I really think it's just a way of just perpetuating the disempowerment of minorities.
But the creation of poverty is based on these mislabels, these quote unquotes that we would just say quote unquote.
Starts from poverty in the mind before,
Poverty
exactly.
really is the lack of.
Right.
Is
a lack.
It's a lack.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It could be
Poverty
poverty.
create a crab in a barrel situation.
Yes.
Everybody picking up on one another back.
Right.
Everybody want to reach the top no matter how you get there.
Right.
Breaking my neck, breaking my hands, I got to reach the top.
But you have to
It comes
think.
back right there, you know.
But you have to think that you're the crab in order to be in that situation.
Right. That's true. I'm not a crab. That's
You're not a crab in a bucket.
Big time.
Right.
Spiritual.
Right. You're not gonna act like a crab in a bucket.
Right.
Yeah, you're not gonna be a
If
rat.
you're a founder of civilization, you're not gonna say you're a black person,
Right.
even jokingly.
Right. They've
Because
created that
that's-
term, and you see the definitions that they've put to it is nothing, nothing in what's real and what, you know, our supposedly set of people represent.
Exactly.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
a total mislabeling.
And it's basic.
Very.
Like it's basic.
It's
But
the-
we want to go. You know what I mean? We want to find out how to build a spaceship,
That's right.
but we can't even
You
go
remember
to
what
the
they
store
said in
without
the-
getting stopped
Yeah.
by a police officer.
Yeah.
Right? We wanna learn how to levitate and
That's
how to
right.
read people's minds or whatever.
They want to keep us in
But
the
we
sixth
can't
grade
even go to the
mentality.
store.
Your house.
We can't leave our house.
Or you can't sit in your house without knowing, if you're not an improper person, that they have jurisdiction to come bust through your door and you really can't do nothing
But
about it.
right now, I don't know, but I don't see the whole world like a prison.
It is in some sense.
There's one of the police really lock you down in, and you have to come back and lock down yourself in this one. Really, that's
A good example about this everything that we're talking about, this inception or them dictating or them setting up a platform. A good example, we're going through it right now here, the African Centered School.
And look at it, my brother.
Yeah.
It's like a prison. And notice, it's just a shutter and the police.
Police and thieves
Shutter and the
in
police.
the streets.
And it's who's the scapegoat, innocent people
Rubber
like me and
donation,
you.
yeah.
Right.
University.
Keep their guns
So we have to lock down ourselves.